This is my ticket queue on a Monday. 5 tickets. And this is my machine at 2 a.m. working through all of them. Alone. I didn't write this code. I didn't watch it being written. This morning I did the one thing. I manually reviewed it. Over this coffee.
Every row here started as a JIRA ticket and ended as a reviewed branch, ready for merge. In this video, how it works, why this is very different from just opening Claude and typing write me code, and what it changes when you're not one developer but a team. Let's be honest about the tools we love. Claude, Cursor, Copilot. Genuinely brilliant. I use them every day. But they all share one assumption. You in the chair driving. You paste the requirement, it asks a question, you answer it right now or everything stops. It writes code, you check it right now. Then you create the branch, you commit, you push, you update the ticket. And then you start ticket number 2 from scratch. Also, Git stuff I mentioned can be done via these tools, still that requires manual intervention. That's not automation. That's a very fast pair programmer who forgets everything between meetings and needs you present for every keystroke. The model isn't the bottleneck anymore. The process around it is. So instead of a better prompt, I built a better process.
This is Forge. It sits on top of Claude. Claude is still writing every line of code. But Forge treats a ticket the way a real engineering org treats a ticket. Every ticket goes through a life cycle. It scopes the requirement and asks its questions up front. It writes a blueprint and stops for my approval before a single line is written. Then it designs, builds, audits its own diff, and ships to its own branch. There's a human gate wherever I want one and a hard stop wherever something looks wrong. The agent does the sprint. Humans do the reviews. That's the division of labor.
Let's run one end to end.
I pick a ticket.
JIRA ID. Title, description, all filled.
I point it at a repo, real Git URL, a local folder or nothing at all. For a fresh project, it just creates the workspace itself. And start. First, it interrogates the requirement, like a good engineer before coding. And these questions are asynchronous. They sit here waiting. I answer from my desk from a meeting at midnight, with screenshots and logs attached if I want. Nothing about this needs me at a terminal. It proposes the plan. I approve. That's my involvement. Then it designs, builds, and runs its own audit rounds on the diff before I ever see it. What comes out the other side is a branch, clean commits, and a reviewable diff. Which brings us to the question this whole video is really about.
But why not just raw Claude, and why do we need this?
Because writing code was never the hard part of shipping software. Here's what a raw Claude session doesn't give you, and what production actually needs. 1. Throughput. Claude does one ticket while you watch. Forge takes the queue. I load the sprint in the evening, answer the upfront questions, approve the plans, and go to bed. It works through the night in dependency order. Same engine underneath. The difference is a queue, gates, and nobody in the chair. 2. Git discipline. And this one is underrated. Point 3. Overnight tickets at the same repo with a raw session and tell me who's managing the branches at 3 a.m. Nobody. It's chaos. Forge cuts one branch per work item off the base you chose, pins the fork point so diffs stay correct even after the base moves, sequences same repo tickets so they never stomp each other, commits with a clean author, and pushes. And a guardrail I consider non-negotiable for production. It cannot push to master, main, develop, or release. Not a prompt instruction, a hard block in the orchestrator.
3. It starts where real work starts, the backlog. Tickets come in from JIRA with one click, and every job carries its JIRA key through to delivery. Your PM's board stays the source of truth. Forge is the execution layer under it, not a separate universe. 4. Control. Every run has a hard dollar cap, a time cap, and a round cap, enforced by the orchestrator, not by trusting the model to behave. Blow a cap, the run halts to a human gate, and every stage logs its cost, its tokens, its cache efficiency. When someone asks, what did the AI do last night and what did it cost? There's an audit trail per ticket per stage. That's the difference between a demo and something you can defend in a team setting. 5. Economics. Planning and repo reading don't need your most expensive model. Writing code does. Forge routes each stage to a different model tier. The cheap model reads, the strong model writes. Quality where it matters, savings everywhere else. 6. Memory. Every question anyone answers becomes a stored fact about that repo. Conventions, deploy branch, the weird legacy module nobody touches. A raw session starts from zero every time for every person. Forge asks fewer questions every sprint, and the knowledge belongs to the system, not to whoever happened to prompt it that. Everything so far was one developer. Now put a team on it. Because this is where the gap between everyone has Claude and the team has a pipeline gets wide. When every developer prompts their own AI their own way, you get 10 private workflows, 10 styles of half-reviewed code, and knowledge logged in personal chat histories. With a pipeline, you get one process. Anyone, including your PM, files a ticket in JIRA. That's the entire skill required. Every ticket goes through the same stages, the same gates, the same guardrails, no matter who queued it. The repo memory is shared. When a senior answers a question about the code base once, every future ticket benefits, even once queued by the intern. Seniors stop being typists and become what they should be, reviewers and approvers. The team's output stops scaling with hands-on keyboards. It scales with review capacity. The agent audits itself, yes. That catches the dumb stuff. It does not replace a reviewer who knows the product. Today, that layer is your normal PR flow. Forge pushes the branch, you raise the PR, and your team reviews it exactly like human written code. Same standards, no exceptions. And this is exactly the next thing being built into Forge itself. A manual review stage inside the pipeline. Assign a reviewer, comments land on the diff, and this is the good part, a request changes doesn't ping a developer. It goes back to the agent, which still has the full context of why it wrote every line, fixes it on the same branch, and resubmits for review. The human sets the bar, the agent does the rework. That's the loop that makes this production grade instead of a cool demo. So the routine now looks like this. Evening. Pull the tickets, answer the questions, approve the plans. Close the laptop. Morning. Review branches like a tech lead. Anything off? I don't re-explain the task to a fresh chat. I talk to the job that built it with its full context intact. Change this. It patches its own branch and comes back for review. AI stopped being my typing assistant. It became the team's night shift. Claude is a world-class engineer with no process. Forge is the process. The queue, the branches, the budgets, the audit trail, the memory, and a human review gate exactly where it belongs. If you want part 2, the internals, the pipeline code, the shadow git trick for non-repo folders, the budget enforcer, and the review stage as it gets built, comment part 2. Like if this saved your evenings. Subscribe if you want your sprints done by sunrise. See you in the next one.